So it's September 8th, and Sony seems to finally have come up with a fixed version of this firmware update for the Sony A7IV. About 2 weeks ago, Sony released a firmware update for the Sony A7IV, but just at the same time it released it, it also cut it back, saying that it was glitchy and that shouldn't download it because there were issues happening with the camera. So some people had updated, some people had no issues at all after updating their cameras. Some people had some glitches, so seems like that was one of the issues some users were experiencing. It says that the update has resumed with countermeasures on September 8, 2022, and we apologize for the inconvenience. In case you have already updated to version 1.10, you can set raw file type to lossless compression L in the large size. The issue will not appear. So I am still on version 1.01, and it seems like people who purchased the camera at a later date, they had their cameras come with version 1.05. That's why there's that discrepancy between 1.01 and 1.05, and people not knowing when version 1.05 came out, because it actually didn't. It only came with certain Sony A7IV, some of the newer ones that weren't out to the market. Another thing to keep in mind as well is that you no longer need software to perform this firmware update, which is great. All you need to do is an SD card or a CF Express card. I'm gonna take you through the process and how you update this. First things first, we have to format our SD cards in the camera, so let's do that first. Now that this is complete, let's go ahead and download that firmware update to the memory card. So first of all, I'm gonna go and select version 1.05. And I'm going to perform these updates one by one first, so I don't get any problems with this. So let's download it. In order to check which version you're at, make sure you go to menu, go to setup, and set up option version. A few things to keep in mind before you start the actual firmware update is to use a fully charged battery on your Sony A7IV. Do not remove the battery at any time during the update. I guess that's an obvious one, but just in case. Also, it may not be possible to update if the camera's temperature is high, so let it cool down a little bit. This sentence actually, to me, implies that Sony knows that there's overheating in this camera. Just saying. So once that's downloaded, just copy it into the root folder of your memory card, which is the first folder that you see as soon as you get in. Once that's done, make sure that you insert the memory card into slot 1, as slot 1 is the only one that can recognize that software update. So now we'll go to menu, setup option, version, and now you can select software update. We'll select execute. We'll read the precautions. Once that's done, you can select execute. So as soon as the system update software starts, you're going to get a black screen and the axis lamp will start to flash. That lamp will flash 1, 3, and 5 times depending on the progress of the update. And the update will take approximately 6 minutes to complete according to Sony. So right now the axis lamp is just flashing once. It was flashed about 3 times and then 5 times depending on the progress of the update. One thing to note here, it says that if the axis lamp repeats 5 long blinks in a half a second cycle and 6 short blinks in a quarter second cycle, that means that the software was not copied correctly to the memory card. So in that case, just gotta remove the battery and memory card from the camera and try again and copy that file to your memory card again. And now we're getting the 3 times blink right here. 1, 2, 3. It's been a couple more minutes and now the lamp light shines 5 times. So once the update's complete, this is gonna pop up, press OK, we're done. So let's go now and check the version 1.05. So I'm on version 1.05 and I've copied version 1.10 into the SD card again on slot 1, and I'll perform the software update. We'll read the precautions all the way to the end and execute. While we let the camera do its thing, I'm going to go over some of the benefits and improvements that this new firmware update is going to give us. If you are still on version 1.00 and never updated to version 1.01, this new version 1.10 includes some of those previous improvements, which were better eye autofocus accuracy. It fixed an issue where you couldn't use the 2860 lens. It also improved operational stability of the camera. Now with the new improvement, one of the big ones is that now you can select medium and small sizes in addition to large when using raw recording lossless compression method, which is really huge if you still want raw photos, but you want smaller file sizes. It also says shutter speed and ISO sensitivity settings for flash photography can also be retained. It adds also the touch shutter function. It improves accuracy on the eye autofocus feature, which I've experienced this glitch. Sometimes when this happens, the camera shows the eye autofocus square, showing that it's focusing on the person, but as soon as I go into my computer screen, it is completely out of focus. So that is a glitch that I've encountered. Normally when that happens, I just have to turn off the camera and turn it back on again. So hopefully that addresses this issue. There is improvement in the Wi-Fi connectivity, and there is a 1-minute setting to now the power save by monitor menu. Again, it improves the operational stability of the camera. Okay, update has now been completed to version 1.10. So far, the camera seems okay. Well, version 1.10. Once you're in photo mode, you go to image quality settings right here, and under file format, when you select raw file type, now you can select large, medium, or small. And I'll actually play around with small compress and medium compress and large compress to see what sort of difference in terms of file sizes I get. But if you already know, let me know in the comments below what the file size difference is. And also, if you've already updated to the version 1.0 from the previous update when it first came out on August 24th, let me know in the comments below. What have you experienced? Any of these improvements that Sony claims to have on this firmware update been accurate? Let me know. Let's go and find out where the touch shutter function is. To access the touch to shutter, go to menu, go all the way to setup, and then go to touch operation. And then here, touch function in shooting, we can select touch shutter. So now I can touch to take a photo. I actually welcome this touch shutter function improvement because sometimes when I am trying to focus on an image, when I'm taking photos, I touch to focus on something and then I have to press still the shutter button. But if I'm already tapping to focus on something, the camera will automatically now take a photo of it, which is, it saves you an extra step. Pretty cool improvement in my opinion. So that's it for today's video. I hope that you enjoyed it, you learned something new, and that you were able to follow along on how to update your Sony A7 IV to the version 1.10. I'll be testing this camera in the next couple of weeks, and if I notice anything wrong with it with the new firmware update, after Sony has corrected some of the flaws and issues, I'll report back, I'll make a video, so stay tuned, subscribe if you haven't already, and thank you again for watching. I'll see you next time.